Indian ad expenditure is poised to grow by rupees 20,000 crore in 2023, marking a 15% year-on-year growth. This growth is fueled by several factors such as expansion of 5G networks, evolving broadcasting landscape, and of course a supportive policy framework. I am Tasmai Laharoy, and joining us today is Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Secretary Mr. Apurva Chandra. Welcome to Storyboard 18, Mr. Chandra. We are thrilled to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll start directly with the questions. You know, we are talking of recovery in the broadcasting industry right now. Some have touched pre-COVID numbers and some have even surpassed those numbers. So help us understand how you assess this growth and what has been the role of, the policy frameworks by MIB in achieving this success.
Yes, it is very heartening to note that the viewers are now coming back to TV. In fact, a couple of years back, it was said that it is the death of linear TV and OTT is taking over and linear TV will not survive. But we do find that the linear TV has recovered substantially and the programming has increased, the content has increased, and we are very happy to note that the customers are also coming back, and I am sure that channels like yours are also very happy with the growth in the numbers. The ministry, of course, we have been interacting with all the stakeholders, then especially the TRP ratings of BARC, which were always a matter of concern, and now we have allowed even the first initially because there were some concerns about the quality of data and all that, so now we have allowed that all the data be made available, raw level data be made available. BARC has taken a decision that the raw level data will be made available to all the news agencies. Then initially then we had also said that because there was a lot of race between the lot of companies and there was unnecessary this thing that the TRPs should be 1 month given over raw data over 1 month. So I think a lot of things have happened over the period.
Right. You know, it's interesting you mentioned so many points. We will touch upon each one of those in our later questions. You mentioned the death of linear TV. You know, people have been talking about that, but then experts also say that India is a huge and diverse market and there is scope for growth for both OTT and linear TV parallelly. What are your views on that? What is the scope?
Even now India has about 18 crore TV homes while the number of households is almost 30 crores. So there is definitely a scope for growth for TV households. And in fact, in the remote parts, Prasar Bharati is also now has taken up a program which the government is financing of giving 8 lakh set-top boxes so that free dish can be received directly. And apart from that, the growth is always possible in several households where TV is not there. And both can survive definitely, OTT and linear TV. And I find that many of the linear TV channels also are there as a part of the OTT also, so that people can view those programs at their convenience. So both are, I think, doing pretty well.
Sure. And since the comparison these days when we are measuring success or achievements is always about the change in consumption patterns. Pre-COVID, it was something else. Post-COVID, consumption patterns, behaviors have all changed. And I'm sure the policies are also adapting to this change in consumer behavior. So how has the ministry been working to, make the policies more adaptive and more tuned in to how the consumers are changing the way they are consuming content?
See, the ministry doesn't really get into the content and the quality of content and the customer behavior, because that is for the channels like yours and others to make the content as the people want to consume. Our role comes in through the program code and the advertising code, that the content is not such which is offensive or which creates some disputes or which can lead to some violence, or it is not obscene or immoral. So in those areas we try to get in, but we try to keep a soft touch approach, and we really don't want to intervene. It is not a censorship in the sense like that we would like to look at each and every content, but definitely if there are complaints, then there have been issues. We have issued warnings, we have taken some actions also, but we would like the industry more to be self-regulated and people to take action on their own.
Sure. And in your first answer itself, you mentioned measurement. Now, measurement is a very important metric for the growth of the industry as well as advertisers when they decide on where they are parking their ad budgets. So, when we talk of TV households, of course, there are numbers which suggest that how many TV households are there, but we do not have any credible data on exactly how many TV households are there, multi-TV households are there, etc. And the national census is coming up. So, it would be great to have some credible data coming from the government itself. So, has this thought come across, or have you been discussing this with stakeholders to include some questions on TV households while we are putting together the national census next year?
I think that's a very good idea that we can include these sort of questions, but as far as I believe that normally these questions are asked. Earlier they used to ask even whether you have a radio or not, but I think those things have changed. Probably we should ask more about TV, and then whether it is a satellite connection, whether it is a direct to home DTH connection, whether it is a free dish connection. So I think those things can be asked. So I think it is a very good suggestion.
Fantastic. And since we are talking measurement, and you also mentioned BARC and the raw level data, and it has been under scrutiny for some time now. So what exactly is the ministry doing to address these concerns of course, and so that people can rely on transparent data again when it comes to audience measurement from broadcast?
BARC is again, it is a industry body where the advertisers, the broadcasters and the advertising agencies, everybody is involved in that. And the government is not directly involved in BARC, except that we prescribe some guidelines that in what way the data should be measured, how many set-top boxes should be there, and that sort of thing. So we have been telling BARC that the number of households where the measurement is done should be increased. BARC has also agreed that they will be increased over a period. There is, in a country as diverse as India, which is divided by languages, by rural, urban, economic and all that, so it is definitely, measurement is not a very easy task. But what we find is that in BARC also, whatever the data they are giving out from the entertainment side, which contributes 90% to the total revenue of TV, there are hardly any complaints. People are quite satisfied with the data which is coming out. It is mainly on the news side that we get a lot of complaints, and there again, because the English news is even more limited compared to the Hindi news, so there it is still more, because the number of households in the sample would be very small, and even a small divergence can skew that. So, and then again there were also issues that people would say that one particular news, if somebody tries and if it is affecting the TRP, then it continues endlessly, and there are issues in that. So initially we advised BARC to give 1 month rolled data, so that week on week rolling for the news, so that this dampening of the immediate crisis happens. And now we have also, for the sake of transparency, we also advise that the raw level data should be made available. And I am happy to note that the BARC in its board meeting has agreed that for the news agencies, for the news channels, the raw level data will be made available. So I think that is a very positive step, so that the news agencies themselves can see and they can arrive at their own conclusions based on the raw level data.
Great. And cable TV regulation has been around for some time, and it is only accurate to say that the TV industry is now functioning just fine, and where regulations are to be there, whatever rules need to be followed, all that is happening. So some experts suggest that the time has come to deregulate the cable TV industry so that it can fight strongly with the growing OTT industry, and also to be aligned to our Honorable Prime Minister's vision of India becoming the global content hub. So just trying to understand your views on the same.
Cable TV industry, yes, definitely the regulations, because firstly, now we want to portalize, we want to make one portal, and on that, because currently what is happening, the LCOs get registered at post offices. Yes. And once they get registered at post offices, to get a consolidated picture of how many LCOs are there, that itself is very difficult. Sure. So now we are preparing a portal, our own Broadcast Seva portal, to enhance that capability, so that the LCOs need not go to post offices, they can register themselves here itself. And so that will give us a more clear picture. Similarly, we are trying to make it simpler for the MSOs and their compliances also, all through the Broadcast Seva portal, which will make it much easier. So content, of course, the cable has its own space, and cable and DTH, they are actually in a contest with each other, and I believe that both of them are trying to attract the customers, and the customers will go to wherever they find more convenience. And OTTs also have now directly entered into the fray, so satellite direct communication is also there. So they are basically three competing parties as of now. But from the government side, we would like to support in whatever way possible all the three. It is not this that we are biased towards any, but technology itself, the way technology moves, and customer preference will decide whatever is to happen, not the regulations.
Of course. And since we are talking about regulations and the recent measures and moves, so last week we saw the Broadcasting Services Draft Recommendation Bill 2023. And since then, some experts, stakeholders, they have been constantly discussing that, is it okay to club OTT with cable TV like regulations? Is it fair? Will there be any roadblocks for the growth of OTT? Because it's still a nascent industry in India. So what are your views? Do you think clubbing everything together under one regulatory framework is fair?
If one looks at the Broadcast Services Bill, and that has just been brought out in the public domain for comments. So in fact, it is good that if a debate is raging on just even a week after we have put it out, because we do expect a lot of comments and we will take those comments into account. And we are quite happy if it is raising some sort of a debate. Currently, what is happening in the space of media, because the regulations are split into several acts. There is the Wireless Act of 1885, which is a pre-colonial act, and that controls all the channels and all the permissions which we are giving under that act. Then there is a Cable Television Network Act, and which again is of old vintage. It is 1985, so it is almost 40 years old. And then the IT Act, which is used to control the OTT and the other media space. So all that has been brought into this. But if you look at the Broadcasting Bill also, there are different regulations. It is not this that everything has been brought together. There are different chapters, and if you look at OTT, so there again it is a light touch regulation. It is not the same as the others.
Right. And talking of light touch regulations, time and again, both the minister and yourself, you guys have been constantly mentioning that the ministry does not want to come up with any prescriptive measures when it comes to OTT. The ministry wants to handhold and just be a support, and they of course support the growth of this OTT industry. But there still have been concerns among stakeholders and businesses in the sector. So what is the message that you want to send out to stakeholders in the OTT industry?
Actually, a very important aspect of the broadcast bill, it is still for public comments and a long way to go, is the Content Evaluation Committee which we have suggested. And that Content Evaluation Committee we have suggested not just for OTTs, but also for the broadcasters, the entertainment channels, maybe radio programs also. And we feel that it is very important because today what is happening, it is totally self-regulated, but a Content Evaluation Committee again will be self-regulation, but you have some prominent people who are effectively saying that this program is fit for, let's say, for a 7-year-old or for a 16-year-old or for an adult audience. So at least there is some sort of evaluation of the content before it goes out, self-regulated only. And today also people are self-regulating in a way, but then complaints do come, especially on the OTT side, about the quality of content. So, and then again the 3-tier structure which we have, which is the second tier also, which we are again empowering through this bill, which we want to empower so that they get a legal status and they can impose fines, they can ask for takeoff of content. So all that is also has been provided in this. So I think that will become a more robust system compared to what it is now, and we hope that the quality of programming will improve.
Hold on to that thought. We'll take a quick break and be back shortly to discuss more on policy frameworks in the broadcasting landscape of India.